Morning. How's everyone? Good, good. Good conference so far? Yep. Awesome. Well, welcome to my talk. We're here to talk about can we keep everyone happy? And specifically, achieving this 99% customer and employee satisfaction. So, if you guys want another technical deep dive, I'm sorry. I think you've gotten plenty of those this week, but, we can talk about those things if you like. But my name is Justin. I'm the Technical Services Director at Electrona. And welcome to my talk. So, who am I? So currently, I reside in Austin, Texas, if you guys are familiar. I've been in the Mac admin space for about 9 to 10 years now, playing with Macs. Fun facts about me, I'm also a musician. I play drums and guitar, been doing that most of my life. And another fun fact is I'm an aviation enthusiast and I'm currently working on my private pilot's license, so if you want to come fly with me, I dare you. So anyway, my role here is a bit mixed. So, I do some work, on our client side and the business side, and also working with our technical teams to ensure that our clients have a, stellar experience. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. So we'll talk about why are we here? So we all work in fast-moving and complex environments, and there are constant demands on our time and competing interests in ensuring that we deliver a secure and delightful user experience, correct? And this mission, of course, aligns with everyone in here. Nothing news for anyone. But, I'd like to present a unique challenge, which is how do you deliver on this across multiple organizations and clients in different business verticals? So we'll talk a bit more in detail about how organizations leverage this technology to kind of deliver on this experience. So we'll talk about numbers because, people love those things, right? So this 99% customer satisfaction rating. So let's talk about how we kind of extrapolated that data and got here in the first place. So this is kind of roughly around, 800 responses in the course of 9 months or so. We're receiving on average about a 99% customer satisfaction rating. And, much to my own surprise, the consistency and the comment and feedback from those clients was, even exceeded my expectation. Though these are positive metrics, this is not a holistic picture of what success looks like, right? There's many pieces that need to fall in place in order for this to work. We'll touch on this a bit more later, but I'd like to mainly attribute this to obviously fast response times, but key to this is this knowledgeable team. So we'll talk a bit more about that later. So let's get into the employee and the client enablement piece, right? So this is kind of how all these things work. So there's a couple elements I'll talk about here. So, having these regular check-ins. So this is a bit of like the meetings and soft skills things. And, kind of how we conduct these things and make them work for our success. We'll talk a little bit about the employee lifecycle management, mainly around onboarding, because, that piece is integral to what we do. And that's the first impression that all of our users have with us, right? And then, we'll also talk about some of the fun end-user enablement that we've built out to deliver on that experience, and they ensure that, users are productive, but they're also happy as well. So, this regular check-ins. I know you're thinking of more meetings, cool. Well, you know what? It's bigger than this, right? This is about relationship building. It creates a sense of camaraderie, trust, and psychological safety to deliver on the client and the team, right? So we have to, without that, great work can't be done until we establish that trust. Start, with once a month or a weekly cadence, whatever works best for your team. But make those meetings inclusive and bring in a focused agenda, right? Problem solving. this is actually our favorite part. So opening the floor to new issues and encouraging it and listening intently. So, though we're the experts in the space, we deal with operations, executives, different departments. Everyone has a key stake in this. Everyone has something to bring to the table. So, this is about sharing challenges and encouraging, collective problem solving together. We've had clients who, bring in their engineering teams, and we work alongside them to deliver, experiences for not only their engineers, but the rest of the staff as well. We work a lot with our HR teams, to deliver better workflows and solve problems for them, especially when scaling, massive amounts of growth as well. And this is also an opportunity for planning and prioritization, right? So discussing current and upcoming tasks and allow for reprioritization when necessary. So talk through, for example, talking through rollout plans for upcoming Mac OS releases, right? What is the organizational impact? What is your test plan? What is your release timeline, et cetera? And, make it fun. We have a unique opportunity to work with Apple technology as professionals. It's not just a hobby. And so, this is a great space and a great, environment to be in. So obviously, learn new things and experiment often as well. So we'll talk a bit about the end user enablement piece. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And I'll say that again, right? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So with that in mind, let's talk about this onboarding experience, right? So in my humble opinion, this is kind of where it all starts. The culmination of all the hard work behind the scenes, the first touch point your users will have, this is where we need to shine. We have devices enrolled in ADE, we scoped to our MDM pre-stages, we've set ourselves up to dropship or configure a device. It's time to go, right? Sounds familiar? Well, that's great. But what if we're doing this across several different companies and organizations with very different requirements? How do we bring some standardization or some organization to this, and how do we deliver that experience consistently? Taking this into account, let's take a deep dive into, a deeper dive into some of those things. So let's just talk briefly about automated enrollment, right? So we get our Mac enrolled, and then we have our policies and our pre-stages set up in JF Pro. Then, we move through the steps of our remote management. And then we start to install our software for this Mac, right? But then, we can even take it a bit further and add even a bit of customization or security to the process as well. So, how about we enable File Vault, for example? Oh, there we go. So this is just, another piece that you can add to this step, right? Or, even better, we can take, the automated enrollment step even further and segment it out by departments, right? So we can even have specific pieces of software installed based on where that user is. So in this example, we're going to do a conference room machine, and we're leveraging Swift Dialog here to install the specific pieces of software for this device. There's a bit of customization and a lot of cool things you can do with workflows that kind of enable and enhance this experience, right? Well, on top of this, keeping third-party apps up to date, right? So this is also a big part of ensuring a great user experience for our clients, right? We need to keep apps and the OS up to date and secure. So I guess show of hands in the room, who enjoys manual packaging? No judgment. Okay, right. So, we agree there has to be a better way. So, we had a session. I don't know if some of you guys were able to check that out yesterday, where we talked about our third-party patching for apps. And, this is an example of providing a good end user experience by giving them a dialogue, which allows them to, do app updates interactively and also, provide deferrals as well. So, if you have not seen the deeper dive on that, I do encourage you to check out that session because it's really good stuff. Well, macOS update compliance. Tools like Nudge, ensuring that our OS is kept up to date. Once again, you might hear a recurring theme here, which is the user-centric, right? This is all what we're here about. This is what we're delivering on. So, this is another example of a kind of end-user enablement piece that allows us to deliver on our requirements and what was required for us, and also provide a fluid user experience as well. So this next one is actually kind of cool because sometimes you get these unique asks, right? And we had a specific client requirement where the organization needed local passwords to be compliant for security, even their clients' requirements as well. So this is a tool that we built to validate that password complexity on the device. And give the user some feedback on what the required steps were and how to achieve them, right? So it was very basic. Have the user their local password, do that validation, give them some feedback on that, let them know whether or not they're compliant, and then let them know success. We've done this, right? So this goes back to listening to our clients, engaging with those teams, those SecOps teams, management teams, and finding where the pain points are and where some of those things that our team can do, what are some of those things that our team can do to deliver, on what their requirements are and the user experience as well. This next one is actually one of my favorites. Device replacements are a common occurrence, right? And effectively replacing them can be anything but routine. We've all been there. So migration assistant does exist, but can result in unintended consequences, right? Breaking user level MDM is one, right? So, giving the users a tool that they can easily step through that won't break that MDM, but allow them to migrate their data and reduce downtime to a minimum. So in this specific example here, we have our migrator tool that's in our Jam self-service. Now, this is in this kind of workflow, we're mainly talking from an Intel to an Apple Silicon, migration, and you're leveraging that target disk mode to find the volume, have that user choose the volume, and then we have our user account that's very visible to us, and that's the one we want to migrate. And then, we have a dialogue here that gives them that migration progress. Now, an additional piece to this is there's actually a finisher or finalizer step that does the syncing of the keychains and allows that user to log out and then sign back in to their account as if they were, using that device all along. So this is a nice fluid way of delivering, that productive, great end user experience as well. So getting into the team aspects. So this is more of what we do day to day. So highly skilled support. Let me kind of talk about what we're getting into here. So it starts with being customer centric, of course, right? But we're adopting this as an organization-wide ethos. So in spite of what the role might be, shared responsibility amongst every aspect or every member of the team, and making this a central focus of the organization is key to delivering on this. Create opportunities for knowledge sharing can help grow expertise also for junior team members and also create a better customer-centric experience as well. And above anything, value this above all else. Developing expertise. So training and certification is a great one, but also events like this. Show of hands, how many people have learned things this week? Awesome. And that's what it's all about, right? Having conversations, learning more about your team, and seeing what training courses or, what things or aspects of their job that interest them most, and developing those things and finding actionable, pathways and plans to develop that is also a big part of this. And this Mac admin community is, bar none. So this is also a great way to continue to grow those things, and blogs as well, other resources online. And going back to problem solving, because this one's near and dear to me as well too. Having well-documented process, this helps develop a logical and systematic approach to problem solving. And it also, quickly, it helps you deliver that kind of fast response and support times that we were seeing earlier as well. Because when you have, a organization that values this, it also encourages curiosity and allows you to also, kind of develop a more highly skilled team as well. Avoiding no. This doesn't mean never saying no, but let's kind of reframe no. So, if it's not something that maybe, we have the bandwidth for, or maybe we're missing the skill sets for, it's talking about reframing that conversation. And how do we say, well, we may not have the answer for you now, but we'll get it to you somehow, right? So, this is also kind of a big piece of, working with a team that, values this above all. Well, so what are some of the outcomes of this? We're going to kind of go through some feedback here. So since the service I've gotten thus far has been exceptional, really the best IT support I've seen in my career. Now, I'm not trying to gas this up, but, this is coming from someone who's had, 30 years of enterprise experience in various large and mid-sized organizations. This was coming, directly on, this was very direct feedback that was, given to us. This was awesome to see. Everyone on the team is so knowledgeable and responsive. I truly appreciate all of you and your dedication to excellent customer service. So this is going back to that customer-centric piece. And then, having that continuous investment in training and knowledge is going to always be that worthwhile pursuit. And, we can achieve results like this. And this last one, I just liked it. Super fast, save my bacon, right? So, this pretty much sums it all up. Having that knowledgeable team, having that customer-centric focus, and also, really sticking to those SLAs as close as you can, and just providing that actionable feedback makes all the difference. So, the employee experience. So in our organization, we really highly value, technical skills. Now, that doesn't mean that, you have to have some insane amount of technical skills, but what we find is that this is actually, a very distinct advantage in our tool set or our toolbox, if you would. So we're going to actually kind of go into talking about how not only having that, that skill set and that mindset, but also how we deliver as managers, on ensuring that everyone can do their best work. So thinking differently around IT. Industry norms are kind of like, well, IT's there to firefight and put out the fires, right? And, we're kind of the unsung heroes. So how do we go from a firefighting ethos to a proactive one? So, some of those things are, maybe we approach IT a bit like software teams do. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but that proverbial wall between IT and engineering is getting smaller and smaller. And, a lot of us use code in various ways to deliver on the things that we're doing on a daily basis. So, though we're not developers, we do leverage software where possible. Sometimes think of support tickets as like software tickets, right? These are bugs. These are things that are slowing people down. This is a roadblock to productivity. So, quickly actioning those and collaborating on those is another way of kind of thinking about them, right? And then, even leveraging some agile kind of workflows for delivering on projects and through monthly sprints, right? So breaking things out in stories and adding subtasks and tackling them through backlogs, through backlogs. And then also, building integrations between disparate systems. So if you have, you're working in 9 different cloud systems and you're like, geez, I really wish some of these things would talk to each other. Well, looking at APIs and discovering what data you can sync between these systems and kind of build a more cohesive environment. Work to remove any and all roadblocks. So roadblocks happen, but they don't need to be debilitating. So, have some goal alignment. Ask yourself, what are we trying to achieve? Does this align with the larger goals for the client or the organization? And break it down into smaller objectives and analyze, and don't be afraid to reject and start all over. Remove bureaucratic hurdles. Well, I know some of your eyes are going to roll in here. Before you get up and walk out or totally lose it, hear me out. Breaking things down within your team into smaller tasks and then working parallel and in conjunction with other teams can kind of get you moving through that approval, hurdles that you might encounter in some of your organizations as well. And then empowerment and autonomy. Let your engineers do what they do best. Meet with them regularly, talk about where their challenges are, and then as best you can, let's try to remove that work from them. Let them go out and tackle those problems that you need them to be tackling. And also, set guidelines and document well. Trust the process. All right? So provide actionable feedback quickly and often. How many of you are familiar with fearless feedback or have heard that term? Awesome. One person? That's great. I don't believe you. No, fearless feedback. This is not feedback without empathy. This is actionable feedback. This is consistent feedback, and this is often. Failure is an integral part of that process, but it is not the end result. Encourage experimentation in the proper settings, of course. Setting up sandbox environments, providing NVAR instances, setting up virtual machines, test hardware. We do all those things. Of course, each person's individual experience is going to be different depending on the resources provided to them by their company. But these are all things that we actually can do to, grow a better team, right? Challenge everything. I mean it. Challenge everything. Ditch that mantra, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sure, it works today, but does this scale make sense for the future? Never be content with the status quo. Apple's mantra, think different, right? Well, that's not just on building consumer products and hardware. That's literally approaching technology different and how we do this different. Constantly reinventing device management and how we think about it is integral to this. And also view new technologies as an opportunity to redefine everything. So embrace those new technologies, learn more about them, see how they fit in align with your organization and what you're trying to achieve. It may not be something you deliver on today, but it's something that certainly might have some implications in the future. Also, celebrate the wins. It's often a thankless job, and we don't do it enough, but it is key that we celebrate those wins because that is part of building a confident and happy team as well. And next, I kind of want to show you some of the results that we've had within our organization. So this was taken from our internal employee NPS. And these results were actually, though we enjoy working with each other, we didn't expect them to be like this. There's always something that could be going on in the organization that you're not aware of, right? So this just goes to speak on some of those things that we were just discussing, right? With providing a great autonomous environment to work in, but also, one that is empowering for employees as well. And kind of going through some of the actual feedback, right? So great people, super smart, and just genuinely always trying to do the right thing. So also selectively choosing customers are pretty great to work with is important as well. So just as important as your employees are, your clients are, who you choose to work with is also and a key part of this as well. The quality and attention to the detail this company brings is amazing. So sweating the small stuff, documenting anything and everything, and also noting that no stone should be left unturned. I won't read through all these things. I'm sure you guys will go through the slides later, but this is just a couple examples of how we create these promoters on our team. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And I do want to open up the room to some questions, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you. You can ask me random questions too. It doesn't have to necessarily be about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Better be. Hey, thank you, Buzz. NPS.
Yeah.
How I saw that you actually could potentially go to negative 100. What made you choose the NPS system? How many questions are there, and how frequently do you poll, especially internal employees?
I don't know the exact number of questions on that survey. Chad, do you happen to know? This is one? Yeah. Because I think it was just one piece, because it was a very basic survey, because really what it was trying to do was extrapolate, kind of a more in-depth, overarching answer of what that person's experience has been working with the team. But the reason we chose this was, it was something that we found reviews weren't really capturing the feedback we were looking for, because reviews are kind of employee focused, and most people are going to, be a bit apprehensive in their individual reviews, just because it's got implications for their role in their future, right? So we just wanted that anonymous, just general feedback of how we were doing, not only as management but also just as a team and organization as a whole. So that was kind of the impetus for not just thinking of that as a customer metric, but also an employee metric as well. So, yeah, I hope that kind of helped answer that a bit. Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I had a question about the, let's see, oh goodness. The migrator tool in Jamf.
Yep.
Apparently utilizes target disk mode.
It does.
But M1 Macs don't allow you to do that.
Right. So great point. And up until, let's say, a few months ago, that was the majority of our migrations, was moving folks off those Intel Macs into the onto the Apple Silicon platforms. We have done some development internally that we're working on a roadmap where we can have a tool that also supports that M1 or M2 now to M1 to M1 or M2 to M2 migration workflow. But that is something we're working on. So,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, nothing just there yet. But yeah, that is something we've been thinking about.
I just thought I'd throw a wrench in there and clarify the situation.
Yeah, no, please. Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir. Can we get the? They may not be able. They won't hear you on the recording.
I'm a bad thrower. Who am I throwing at?
why I want that.
So, two Macs with M1 chips can't do target mode anymore.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Well, that sucks. When they stop that?
Yeah. Yeah, the Apple Silicon. Yeah. So, the target disk mode went away with the Intel to M1 move. Now it kind of works where this looks like almost like you're mounting two SMB shares, and like it does this like network data transfer, and it's much slower. But that is something that we're kind of looking at internally of like how do we build something that had similar capabilities but supporting that new new workflow. But yes, that is the target disk mode is only supported in that Intel to M1 or M2.
All right.
For use for what? Sorry, I might have missed that.
To do data migrations from, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can migrate M2s to M2s.
you can.
Yeah.
But our migrator tool, the way we had this set up was that it was actually something we provided for the end users to be able to do the migration out of a self-service workflow rather than having a technician or someone. I mean, we'll walk them through the steps, but they're actually able to perform that migration wherever they are. So that also makes an easier workflow for drop shipping devices in the event that you have a replacement or a refresh. And as you most know, you guys are working in a lot of remote environments, right, where you've got employees everywhere. And there's a high chance that you will not be able to facilitate all their migrations. And often what I hear is people are either doing things like restoring from backups or manual moves with AirDrop or Google Drive, what have you. So it can be quite cumbersome. The also impetus for this is that we migrate the user's home folder, and they literally will do the pre-installation of the application, so they can literally open up the device and literally continue as was. Anyone else?
Can you speak to your regular check-ins with various departments? Is that, I can just talk more on what those meetings look like.
Sure.
Is it per department, per team?
Yeah. So I'll use an example. We have a client that is a heavy engineering org. Majority of their staff is either data analysts or DevOps or developers, and we meet with a couple key engineers and their CTO. And really, what we're having meetings on is a lot of their internal IT-related projects that either they need some help with or don't have the bandwidth for. So we'll go kind of talk through like a roadmap of delivering some of those things. We'll talk about some of the outstanding engineering issues. One good example of that is, they had a custom homebrew package that they were deploying, and there's a lot of dependencies involved with that. So talking about how we keep those up to date and make sure that engineers have what they need or what development tools they have on their machines, and make sure that that's kept up to date. Another example is we had a client that the operations team was dealing with rapid growth. And at one point we were, delivering close to 100 machines for a few weeks to new staff. So they had a lot of kind of internal processes and systems that didn't support that or weren't there. So a big thing of what we were doing was kind of coming in and not only helping them deliver on that, but do a bit of problem solving of like, okay, how we have this problem, how do we actually make this work in reality? And the check-ins really are about kind of coming into the room and saying like, hey, we know that we have this relationship with you, but like, what is actually happening? What is actually going on? What are we not hearing about? What do we not, what is coming down the road? What are some of the things that you maybe aren't thinking about as well? Because we also use that as an opportunity to go, well, wait a minute, you've told us about this, but have you thought about the implications here? So that's a lot about what that's about. I can sing a song if somebody wants.
Where along are you with your pilot training?
That is very early on, but I think I have like 4 hours of air time right now. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's expensive. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you play on 6th Street?
Austin? Yeah, I did live on 6th Street, but now I just bought a house there recently, so I'm like just a little bit south of downtown now. But yeah, I'm very familiar with playing on 6th Street. Yep. Anyone else? Any general questions? Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh.